So tonight, team, we have a very special guest in the hot seat, Audrey, who's been working with me now for a little over 6 months, and in that time, she has seen incredible progress. She has hit a new all-time low with her weight there, the last check in 72.5, all the way down from, I believe, 82 or 83 kg. So that's an incredible amount of weight loss. That's 22, 23 pounds, and she's built a lot of tools and knowledge that she's been able to utilize in different areas, whether it's going out eating out and going away on holidays, and the nutrition principles that you always hear me speak about. She has been implementing them, and they've been working quite well for her, which is why I've wanted to get her on here and get her to share a little bit about her experience, because it's always good from hearing from people who have been through the process and have got incredible results, just like Audrey. So, firstly, Audrey, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you like to do, and a bit about your hobbies.
Thanks, Caleb. Hi, everyone. My name is Audrey, and I'm kind of laughing at what Caleb there said that I hit a new time low the last time because I'm due to check in just after coming off the plane from Spain. So I'll probably be at my all-time high now tomorrow. But look, we'll get over that. We will. So my name is Audrey. I am almost 39 years of age. I have a daughter, Lauren. She's 8, so she keeps me busy at weekends. I work full time during the week, Monday to Friday. It is your standard 9 to 5 job, office job. So that itself is kind of a routine in general. So it's kind of, I have kind of good routine in what I have to do and stuff. So I knew I'd be able to apply some of the principles there. But what I like to do is I like to relax. Things I don't like to do is I like to relax in the evenings. I like to go for walks weekends, catch up with my daughter now, go to the cinema, just the simple things in life, go for dinners, all the things that I probably was saying I need to get on a plan, like, because
Mm,
I would be quite busy in my role, so I love to just kind of sit back. But at the same time, I do like going away. I would try go away about 4 or 5 times a year. And, I just think it's important to try and travel if you're into it and not kind of, say, oh, I'm busy here. I'm worried about money. I think, life is hard. And I just think we only live once, so I try and just make the most of that. I do. So I am just home from Spain last night, straight back into work today. But look, that's what kind of gets me into the routine and stuff. But I do have hobbies. Like I've been a dancer there all my life up until I was about 24, until I hit college and hit the whole Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I stopped that then. And that's when it started to kind of go a little bit like, but I had my child when I was 30. I probably at my lowest then because I stopped eating during the pregnancy, but I kind of came off that then, and she were managing a child then, she had autism and all
mm,
that. So it was very, very challenging for years. And I used to eat a lot out of comfort and trying to deal with the stress there. Um, so I kind of was at a point in my life then, where it was like something has to change, So look, that's a
yeah,
little bit about me. But yeah.
brilliant, Audrey. I appreciate you opening up and sharing all that with us and giving us a bit more of an insight into your life, right? Because it's good, and like people, will find this relatable in different ways, whether it's your work life, whether it's the travel, your daughter,
Mhm.
whatever it is, right? So tell us a little bit about what you tried before joining Progressive Fitness.
So if I actually tried everything, I would after I suppose the dancing would always have kept me slim. And then you can eat anything when you're on the move all the time. But I suppose when after Lauren was born, I kind of said I'd have to start going to like fitness classes, and I'd buy the 10 class pass and I'd use about 4 of them, and I'd leave the money go down the drain there. And then I'd join a gym and I'd be your January warrior, and then they were looking for me in February. Like I was tried everything. I tried all the slimming clubs. I did Weight Watchers. That didn't work for me. So I thought, would Slimming World work for me? But sure, did the exact same thing. But I did lose it. Like I would always lose it. Then celebrate the wins with a Chinese or something
Mm,
and go back up again. I tried everything. I tried running, lost it, did my marathons proud. It's like I almost celebrated wins with kind of going backwards a
yeah,
bit. So I would have tried a lot, definitely. Now, like I'm still into dancing and music, and even if I hear it around the house, it would get you going. Like, but would it lose you the kind of couple
Yeah.
of hours that you want to lose? Maybe not. Like, but I was always someone that threw myself into it because I knew that it made me feel good, and I wanted to feel
Mm.
good. And then I did feel good, but by feeling good, I would celebrate then and crash. So yeah, I would
Yeah.
be someone that tried it all.
I get you. I get you. So you'd feel like, you had your wins at times, but then you would nearly self-sabotage with overindulging
Yeah,
at different
yeah,
periods.
it's a vicious
Okay.
circle. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people will be able to relate to that, because it is quite common to be able to do that. You get stuck in that
yeah.
vicious cycle. But what exactly were you struggling with then? Was it like understanding nutrition better? Was it like knowing how to move on once you've achieved one goal, moving on to the next? Structure around maybe your training, your weeks, like what was it you felt you were struggling with most during that time where you were in that cycle?
I think I knew a lot. I think I knew what I had to do. I had a brother, Caleb, you'd be kind of saying, why aren't you with him? I had a brother
Mm,
who studied fitness and nutrition and all that. And he used to help me a lot as well. And
mm,
he'd give me a load of plans, he'd give me workouts, he'd always recalculate my calories needed every
mm,
couple of weeks. But he was full time working as well and not in that area. So he just didn't have
yeah,
the time to keep me accountable.
yeah,
Um, but I was always on it. I always knew what foods I needed to do. I always knew what calories I had to do. I couldn't control my own mind, I couldn't
mm,
say, you have to go out and do this on your own. I needed a
yeah,
push. I needed that shift in my mind where it was like, it's not going to come to me. It's you
yes,
just have to do it. So like I would have been like, yeah, I know I was the typical person of Monday to Thursday. And then Friday to Sunday, third of the week was just gone, even though I knew that it can't be that. You have to be like 7 days good. You can have your
mm.
cheat meal or anything. Like I learned a lot from my brother, but he was just having none of me anymore. Like when I was just giving up then. So I was
Yeah,
like, grand, fine, I'll go off and find someone else then.
I
But
get you. I get you.
yeah, I
It,
knew what I
it's
had
very
to do to keep my mind.
it's very hard to work with family anyway.
So,
In general, yeah, I have found
yeah,
that myself over the years. Obviously, with coaching, obviously, I have family members that might come to me sometimes. Sometimes it works out great, and other times it doesn't because it
yeah,
can be hard to listen to someone that's that close and you know stay accountable. Or day like your brother obviously was busy as well with his own
yeah,
day-to-day job, so it does make a difference. Obviously, having that level of accountability that will hold you to a high standard consistently
yeah.
each and every week. But like, how long would you say you were struggling with these problems for? How long were you trying to solve this for?
Years. Like this is going back well before pre-COVID. Like a lot of people started struggling during COVID, but I definitely had all the struggles there going into COVID even. I actually think
Yeah.
I took COVID as a way of kind of resetting myself, and then we come out of COVID and I'm going wild again. Like, but
Mm.
this is going on a long, long time. I definitely think it's going on since I had Lauren because I
Yeah.
think that she was just, I had a lot of anxiety around her being my first child, and she had a lot of difficulties with speech. She couldn't communicate with
Mm.
me. So I was really, really frustrated, and I just find it hard to make that time for myself. Um,
Yeah.
I know I had a partner and everything, like, but I just think with a mother's kind of instinct, you kind of just take things more on board. Yourself, and you get down a lot. So
Mm.
like he's just 8 now, so I'd say a full 8 years. I'm struggling to kind of look 7.5, getting rid of the last 6 months. But
Yeah.
I'd say I'm having a tough time just controlling and looking after myself and kind of putting myself first a bit. Kind of always just look after everyone
Yes.
else. It's the
I
worst thing
get you.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I noticed that like from over the years working with mothers, they'll tend to put everyone else before
Mm.
themselves, and then there's nothing left for themselves at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So if you can flip that in its head and you look after yourself first, like you have been doing over the last 6 months, you'll notice now you've so much more energy to give to everyone else, right? You fill your
Yeah.
own cup up first, and it overflows into everyone else's. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
tell me, what sort of impact then was this having on you over the last 8 years?
Oh, just complete and utter like frustration, disappointment almost. just like, and it would actually, like, I already had that anxiety
Yeah,
with her, and it didn't help. You think that it would help going for the bottle of wine or going for the
yeah,
pizza ordering in. It had a huge kind of setback on me and my confidence, and obviously my energy levels, the normal things
mm,
like feeling sluggish and energy. But I just become so disappointed and unhappy in myself. And like, my mom was always just the one that was really just honest with me, saying that yes, you do look unhappy, or yes, you are heavy, or it's always your mom that will make you kind of, or your child
most
will
honest.
say that that doesn't look well on you anymore, you'll always. But like, I had partners and friends that would be like, you're fine, you're grand, but
Mm.
no one can, you can't really talk to these people then, because they'll just say you're fine, you need someone
Yeah,
that,
what you want to hear.
like,
They'll tell you,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they
I
just don't
get
want
you.
to listen. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So, yeah, as you said, it's been across the board there. So for a while, right? The last 2 years, or
yeah,
last not
yeah,
even 2 years, the last number of years that you mentioned. But
yeah.
tell us a little bit about what life is like right now.
So life is actually not much different, Caleb. You're like, what? But life is actually still similar. I'm still the same person as I was, in terms of me not saying no to that takeaway after a busy
Mm.
week, or how much I love my glass of wine, and I'd be putting it on my
Yeah,
plans and stuff. Life is not different. I'm still going on the trips, and I'm still going on a night out. I love, heading out. I would enjoy kind of, just nights out now for dinner.
yeah,
Cinemas is a big thing. So it hasn't changed that much, but I have changed in how I've coped with it as such,
yeah,
So, like, because I have built a habit now, I think that my mind is different. Like, I could have come off that flight last night and gone into work and just had a big hot chicken roll, but I
mm.
didn't. I just, I brought my lunch in, like, and no way would I have done that. But it's almost like I don't need to say anymore that I'll start Monday, because you'll only get worse and worse as the days goes
Yeah,
on. I'm the same person that's doing the exact same things, but just with a different mind. And I think that's what you've taught me well over
mm.
anything. Yes, I'm lower in weight, and yes, I feel better in myself, and happier in myself and stuff, but I'm still me, but just
Mm.
dealing with things differently. I
Good,
am.
and that's it. And that's it. Like, like you're still able to do the things you love, which is what you've been mentioning there. And that's what
Yeah,
I wanted to hear as well. You haven't cut out the cinema date. You haven't cut out the going out for eating out. You haven't cut out, going on holidays. And that's the thing. You don't need to cut out any of these things. That shows that you can still live a normal life. But it's just how you approach them now has changed,
that's
right?
it. Like, we have like the hottest day of the year here. They're saying it's hotter than Ibiza here today. So I actually feel after this
Really?
call, I'm gonna go up to the bar and get the last sunset drink. Like, be like, cheers.
Why not? Why not? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
It's rare we get weather like that back home.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's really good to see that you've been able to keep in that and still live a bit more of a balanced lifestyle now, where you're actually focused on yourself a bit more, and your health and your fitness and your
yeah.
energy, your confidence, you're feeling better, you're
And
looking better, you're
I'm
happier.
telling you that, yeah, that I never wanted to change what I was doing, but more
Mm.
wanted you to help me with the way I was doing things. And like, if
Yes.
I took this 6 months with you and completely cut out nights out and completely cut out my takeaways, I wouldn't be a happy person. But as well, if, down the line I'd crash, I would feel.
Yes.
So
You crash
even if
and
it
burn
is,
badly, yeah.
yeah, even if it is slow wins every week,
Mm.
that's better than absolutely nothing, So that's what I'm
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. What impact then has this had in your life that you have built these skills and now and you know how to cope with these events so much better?
Yeah, it has had a huge impact on me. Like, people, even by people just kind of saying, you look well and stuff. Yes, it makes you feel good, but I just think it makes you feel more confident, in the way you hold yourself and the way you speak with people, but it's
Yeah,
had a huge impact on like my family and stuff. I'm happier around them, and like
yeah,
it's changed things, but I'm happier because I feel like I've learned the principles of what I need to apply, and that's built into me now, and I hope that I'll never forget those and will
yeah,
continue that. So it was like it was an investment in myself, and it was something that I was always like, will I, won't I, will I,
yeah,
for a long time. And I just said, like, you just do it.
yeah.
You're not going to regret it. Like, and it has had a huge impact on me. Like, and it takes time, definitely. And like you said to me the first day that it's not a program for 3 months, it's a program for 6 months. And I can totally see where you're coming from because
Mm,
you would have brought me into Christmas there, like, and just straight away in January, I could have just, gone the opposite way, but you
yeah,
keep it going and stuff. So no, it's had a
yeah.
really good impact on me, definitely.
And like you said there, going through those busy periods like Christmas and coming out the other side New Year's, like, there's different stages in the year and learning how to navigate through those periods. You have that now forever, right? Next year
Yeah,
it's going to be much handier, right? To be able to navigate through. You have the tools, the knowledge, like the holidays, the events, understanding how to factor all those things in is one of the biggest factors why we do the program that bit longer because it gives us a chance to go
yeah,
through these times where there will be things happening, so we know how to manage
mhm,
them. And then again, there's going to be every year, right? The same things happen every year.
mhm.
So, when they come around again,
You
you'll be
think,
much more
yeah,
equipped to deal with. So, I suppose would you say it's been worth the effort and time that you've invested in yourself over these last 6 months?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I would never go back on that or never say like, oh my God, if I didn't do that now, absolutely
Mm,
not. Um, it can only get better from the way you are. And I just think you just have to start and you can see it for yourself then how it's going. But sure, when you see the results, you're not gonna kind of say anything wrong with it. You
yeah.
just it's no, it's one of the best things, absolutely.
Super, super stuff. So, really happy to hear that, Audrey. Now, let's dig into some key principles, right? These are things I've been thinking of them as hacks that have worked well for you over the last couple of months, or whatever it is that comes to your mind when we talk about nutrition, mindset, lifestyle, and training, right? So, firstly, we'll talk about the nutrition side of things. Let's run through 2 to 3 key principles that work really well for you, or hacks, as I said, that you'd like to share with everyone.
Um, with nutrition, is it, Caleb?
Yes, we'll start with nutrition.
Okay. So the biggest thing for me, probably what I implemented this time was um meal prepping. And that would have been not even making the foods, or what do you call that when you make the foods on a Sunday morning?
Like
Batch
batch
cook.
cook. Yeah,
Yeah, not even that. I tried that. Um, but as again, I liked my Sundays going out for dinner and all that, I suppose. But
yeah.
like I tried it and it didn't work, and I was kind of saying that's it. So instead, I kind
Mm,
of would journal on a Sunday night, meal prep for the week, and that didn't stop then on a Thursday. It went right up to the following Sunday. And if something came
good.
in to say like I was going for dinner, then that's it. It's your diary, or you just cross out the Saturday night if you're going for dinner, as such.
Yeah,
So a lot was meal prep, and I did do a bit of batch cooking. And I suppose another thing that I would do is I wouldn't be the best eater. Caleb, I know I remember telling you I didn't eat fish or a lot of red meat or
mm,
anything like that. But what I did do was I did still try to hit like, the protein levels now. And I don't think I ever had a problem with you in
yeah,
not reaching that. I know a lot of things might have been, a lot of yogurts now and stuff, and
mm,
sometimes they're not the best, which I know, but I was still making sure I was hitting that protein kind of target and the carbs. There was no problem there with the carbs, there wasn't, but I mentioned the
yeah,
fiber there too for a while as well. I tried to cut back on a bit of processed foods. Um, I think I enjoyed with the nutrition, I enjoyed going shopping a bit more. I just said this is the time now where I would just go on my own so that I can look at
yeah,
nutrients and the ingredients at the back of things. I could be down there for 2 hours, but it's something that I built
yeah,
into learn. And I keep the small one at home because you don't need fleece it with other things like. So I just took that
yeah,
time. So there were kind of a lot of things, not no big changes because I'm still not a great
Mm,
leader, but just more conscious and more aware of
mm,
things, just journal things. And
yeah.
if things cropped up, they cropped up, then like, I just said, that's it, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I like what you said there about the journaling. You planned out like, right, this week I'm gonna do it X amount of days, and then if something was on Saturday, with X out to Saturday, that's good. You're pretty consistent then with it. And like journaling before the week begins, like planning out your weeks effectively like that makes such a difference, even if it's only for 15, 20 minutes on the
Yeah,
Sunday. It makes a huge difference, right? Same with the meal prep, the batch cooking. I'm a big fan of that. I won't always batch cook like a specific meal. I might just batch cook a load of fillets and a load of rice, and then you can
yeah,
do so many different things with that.
true.
Or
I didn't think of
maybe,
that. No, yeah,
but there's different ways rather than having like, oh yeah, you're having four chicken curries for the week, but you can make chicken salads, egg fried
yeah,
rice. You can make, it
yeah,
can be quite flexible, but batch cooking, you can approach it many different ways.
yeah.
So
And
the
it is fine to
protein,
eat the same things then, I suppose, every day, keeping it, routine as well,
yeah,
like, but yeah,
it's just
yeah,
down to personal preference. There's no right or wrong way, as long as, like you said there, you were hitting the protein. It mightn't have been always true your whole foods, let's say, like your chicken or your beef or your fish, which you weren't a fan of. Like everyone's different. Everyone has their own likes and
yeah,
dislikes. As long as you're doing your best to hit the protein target, it's still going to benefit you. It's going to be much
yeah,
better than not hitting the protein target.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I really
absolutely.
like that, and I try and emphasize that so much to people that I see sometimes come in, and they'll like, yes, calories are king at the end of the day, right? Making sure you're
Mhm.
within that range is always the most important thing when it comes
Yes,
to
the
fat
fat
loss.
one. I
You
do
know,
that. Yeah,
yeah, but you
absolutely.
were doing that because you were seeing the consistent
Yeah,
drops, right? But the what comes after calories, if you want to see better changes and better improvements in your body composition, it's the protein, right?
hmm,
And you prioritize hitting the protein, which is really good to see. You were hitting the calories, that goes without saying, otherwise you wouldn't have seen the drops in weight. It's the protein that will actually make the body composition changes so much better. So
yeah.
massive well done there with that. So next, let's look at mindset. What would you say were kind of three or two or three key principles around mindset that work well for you?
Um, I don't think that I took this 6 months as like, what will I be, Caleb, in 6 months? I took it as week by week and small
Mm,
wins. And I didn't allow my mind to kind of want an end goal out of this. I didn't know what I could be or wanted to be, or never said I wanted to be this. I
yeah,
I treated my mind with just small wins each week, and I celebrated those wins, and then I reset, and I kind of felt like what could work for me now this week that I
yes,
didn't implement last week, or what went wrong last week. I'm not going to continue this week, or if I didn't like something. So I was always very
yeah.
good to myself with little wins. Even after check-in day, I would say, Jesus, I can go down now and get another Chinese after that. You won't have a clue. No, but even if I did, I was putting it into my calorie counting. I say
Yeah,
that, like, but no, I definitely always kind of made sure I just celebrated small wins. Absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
I did.
yeah,
I suppose there's a sense of growth there for me because, as I said at the start, I'm still the same person that I was all through the years. I'm just have more belief in myself, and that is a sense of growth for me,
yeah,
that I'm just kind of actually proud of. And obviously that's all down to like your support and stuff, but it's just having that discipline, and
yeah,
learning what to do and stuff, and small wins. It's all growth for me as such. Like, for me, anything was better than not
yeah.
doing anything. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like the belief is a big thing, like because you came to me with very little, right? You probably had tried so many different things in the past and it wasn't really working for you. So we had to build that self-belief back up as well, and that
Hmm. Yeah.
that that comes from doing, right? That's the only way you can do it. Like you set out. a task, and you had probably an end goal in mind, but you didn't want to stretch the vision too far. You took it week by week, which was really good to see. You
Yeah.
celebrated every little win along the way, which is so important because you're stacking them up all the time. And each time you stack up these wins, it's building more confidence in yourself, which builds your self belief. And it's just like this domino effect. And over time, you're building this stairway up to where you wanted to get to, right? But bit
Yeah.
by bit, you weren't dwelling when things didn't go right. You weren't going, oh shit, bad week. Now what do I do? You were like, right. You look at it and you say, right, what can we improve on here? We discussed obviously in our check-ins where things could be improved upon, and you took everything on
Mhm.
board, and then you went away and implemented it, and then you seen the changes again, which built
Yeah.
more belief. So it was
Exactly.
a different kind of cycle, not a vicious
Yeah.
cycle, a good
I
cycle
didn't
where
see
we,
that now. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Definitely. No.
yeah, and just being able to look back and assess like you would even in work maybe for something, how did the week go? What could go better next week? It's the very same thing with your lifestyle, your training, your nutrition, your mindset. So and the discipline as well, like you said there, that's at the beginning obviously it wasn't the strength, but now it is,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it's something that you worked on over the 6 months. It's like a muscle. The
Yeah.
more you work a muscle, it gets stronger. It's the same with discipline. No one is born disciplined. Like, do you know what I mean? It's something that
Yeah.
you build over time through doing the things you need to
Mhm.
do, even when you don't feel like doing them, right? So that's what discipline really is. And then once you have the discipline, you have the freedom, right?
Yeah.
So let's move on now to lifestyle. Let's share some key principles that work really well for you around the lifestyle side of things.
Um, I suppose I surround myself really with positive people. You had a session there, I don't know, was it a couple of weeks ago or something, on like the negative impacts that people can have on you,
Yeah.
um, how they might make you feel if you're not going to have the few drinks or go for
Mm.
the dinner, or kind of look at you and question you and all that. Now, I have a very kind of positive support group, um that wouldn't look now, I'm never one that would be like, no, I'm not drinking tonight, or no, I'm not here. I'd always be all
Yeah.
involved in that. But I was very open with them of what I wanted to do here, because a lot of people can say, oh, you're joining a plan, you don't need to join a plan, and
Mm.
a lot of that can be down to like jealousy, or look
Mm.
at you, or where are you going with this, or who do you think you are, kind of thing. So my
Yeah.
lifestyle is surrounded with right people,
Brilliant.
and that's kind of very important for me. Um, Another one is that I kind of manage stress very effectively. A lot of people say that I'd be very outgoing and, well able to manage things and cope with things. But I think sometimes it can be all a face in the front, and it's something that I'm good at doing.
Yeah.
And it's because I kind of take time to kind of plan out things and plan out my work days. My job is quite stressful, my child is stressful, my partner is the most stressful, like, so it's just kind of like, I'm taking that time for me, and I've learned that music for me, Caleb, is just my escape. Like, I could go into
Yeah.
bed at night now and put in the earphones and listen to music. I was away there in Spain, and we went into this Irish bar, and it was all traditional Irish music, and it just takes you back into this
Yeah.
space where you just become such a different person, and like, no matter what happened an hour ago before that or anything, it's forgotten about. So
Yeah.
it's just my escaping. I'm not into like podcasts now. Everyone has their own kind of thing. And music for me, as soon as I hear it, I just go into my own little kind of bubble, and
Mm.
it helps me cope with life.
Yeah.
It helps me cope with things. So it's something that
Yeah.
really works for me. It
Good,
is.
good. Yeah, that's an interesting one because it has been shown. Studies have shown that like music does release dopamine, and you
Mm.
do get that feeling. I mean, you've all experienced this, right? Where you're in the car and the song comes on, and you get a
Oh
trip
yeah.
down memory
Yeah,
lane, and then like
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
brings you back to a time where and it is good. It's great listening to music, even. for your workouts. It can get you in the zone when
Mm.
you're doing a bit of work, when you're trying to relax, it gets you going to bed. So everyone has their own thing, right? So that's really
Mm.
good, and everyone use it in different ways as well. Some people
Yeah,
use it to get them amped up. Some people use it to chill them out, to get them going for a night out, whatever it is, right? So
yeah, yeah.
that's a really good share there. In relation to the surrounding yourself with positive people, like some people really do struggle with finding the right kind of groups to be within, and people that are always trying to pull them back. Like you said, some people can get jealous that you're trying to change, and they'll try and pull you down and say they don't want you,
They don't
improving,
want
and
to know. They
because
don't
they're
want to
afraid of.
start looking better than them or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Mm.
happens quite a lot, right? I've seen that a lot over the years. So, being aware of that is important. Having the
Mhm.
awareness to say, yeah, my group, this person is actually draining my energy. I need to spend a
Mhm.
little less time there, or, lean into the people that are lifting you up, rising tide, as they say, raises all boats. So, it's very important to have the right environment around you. So, really like those lifestyle tips there. Now, let's move on to the training side of things, right? Tell us a few hacks or what's worked well for you with regard to your training or exercise.
And I suppose if I'm honest, the whole part of the program that I wouldn't enjoy the most is the training. Because again, it's trying to fit that time in, It's like if now, for instance, I heard a song you could dance around the kitchen to, that'll make me move. But in terms of when I
Yeah,
know I have to go for a run or I know I have to fit that extra class that are in, or I hadn't hit all the fitness things that you have up in the app, it's all
yeah,
kind of like, shit, I haven't done that. Shit, I need to do that, and that kind of thing would have been something that I would have struggled the most in and felt like
yeah,
you never regret when you're doing it or anything, but it's
yeah,
always the thought of it. So I suppose then when me with my training, I was trying to, some days I would even just say, I might mix the hands and the legs in, so I don't have to come back tomorrow or something.
mm,
But like that was a lot at the start, but I learned what kind of worked for me again and chose my days, and you kind of
yeah,
change things around for me, and a lot of things then in the gym I wouldn't have been able to do, and I'm kind of someone that would be a little bit anxious in those kind of areas.
yeah,
So comfort is kind of, my comfort zone is important to me, but I know it's important to come out of it too.
yeah,
But I just wouldn't class myself as someone that would just have my head held high, which is terrible because I am after building the confidence during this training program, and I do believe, have
mm,
believed in myself and everything, and I'm getting better. But it's definitely still something that I might just have to take a deep breath in and just push myself.
mm,
Look,
yeah,
I picked up the running again, because that's just always just kind of good for the mind, and especially with the
yeah,
fresh air as well and stuff. Um, but I made sure that I did like a dance class during the week, a run as my cardio. I bought a walking pad. I remember I was telling you
yeah,
that last
yeah,
October.
yeah,
That was just the best investment ever for those darker evenings. So I was constantly doing my steps then, so I was always on
brilliant.
top of that. I did lose the remote control there at one point, so I was out of the swing of it for a few weeks. But
Yeah,
I said I have to get out then again. It's all like that you have to do, whereas I
yeah,
hate that word, then I want to do it. But that's hard
yes,
when you're busy working and you're coming home and life is in the way
yeah,
and stuff. Yeah. So
yeah,
it would be one of the things that is the harder part for me, but I'm getting better at it because I'm using that mindset of
mm,
just saying, it
yeah.
is what it is and get out there and do it.
Yeah, and a great way, right, of reframing that. Like you're saying, I want to do it, right? I want to do it,
Want
rather
to
than
do it.
thinking I
Yeah.
have to do it, right? But another
Hmm.
way of reframing that is saying I get to do it. You know,
Yeah. I can
so
see
many
that.
people that can't, right? When I remind myself sometimes if I don't feel like training, I'm like, Jesus, there's people there that are bedbound or are in wheelchairs and they can't do it.
No.
I get to do this. So sometimes it's a really good one to keep kind of remind yourself of I get to rather than oh, I have to go and do this run, or well, the runs
Yeah,
obviously you're not finding as challenging, but for the gym,
yeah,
like you get to do this, like you know what I mean. It's a privilege to be able to
true.
do this because so
True,
many
and that's
people
so true.
can't.
And I will say that the next time I'll probably curse you after it, like, but I will say, yeah, I get to go here. I'll be like, Jesus. But no, I totally see where you're coming from because anything can happen in life is short, as you say. And if you weren't able to do it,
Mm,
you'd be kicking yourself. So no, I
yeah,
feel for that. That's a
you,
good way of looking at it. Yeah.
you know, you get to have this opportunity, right, to shape your body a certain way and look a certain way and
Mhm.
feel good in yourself and confident because of what you went and done. You know what I mean? And getting to
Yeah.
do that gives you fulfillment, it gives you confidence, it gives you belief, like all the things we've touched on that you've, managed to improve upon. Obviously, areas you still want to improve on as well, but you've come such a long way. Like what you said there about combining the workouts at the start, all these different things kind of helped with your growth and development to get to the point where,
Yeah.
right, it's still not something you're 100% comfortable with. There's still a bit of gym anxiety there. Like people mightn't believe
Mhm.
this, but I get gym anxiety sometimes. You know what I mean? Like even if I'm going into more so if I'm going into a new gym, like I've never been to before,
Yeah.
that's the only time really I get it now, whereas I'm comfortable in the places that I'm always going to now. But I still
True.
do. Same like I do martial arts as well. It's even more anxiety then, right? Because you're going in to fight other
True.
men. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
know.
geez, I don't know anyone inside this gym. I don't know who's dangerous, who's not.
Kicking
You
my
know what I
ass.
mean? So you can
Yeah.
imagine there's still anxiety there with that, right? So
Mhm.
I do what you do sometimes, and I take a deep breath or I do a bit of breath work, and I get myself
Yeah.
calmed down, and I go and do it. And like you said, you never regret it afterwards, right? You
Yeah.
always feel great afterwards. So it's a mindset with everything that we do. And
Mhm.
I feel the same feelings you do, and a lot of other people do as well. And it's just about how you deal with those feelings because they won't go
Yeah.
away. They never really
Um,
do go away fully, but you manage them better. Just like you said earlier, you're coping with things so much better now. Things haven't changed that much, life hasn't changed, but it's how you deal with them changed,
yeah.
right? So, um, really good shares, Audrey, with all of those, the nutrition, the mindset, the lifestyle. The walking pad one is brilliant. I love that. Like anyone that's listening back, Audrey will tell you that was a real game changer for you right over the winter.
Right.
Having that walking pad there to get the steps in, in the dark nights when you can't get out, when it's not even really that safe anymore these days to be getting out at night and going around the
Mhm.
place, So having something there you can do in the comfort of your own home and getting those steps in was a massive thing. Um, let's move on to the final few questions, all right? So Stephanie just says here in the chat, I think everyone has those feelings when going to the gym. Yeah. And you manage them better. That's the thing. Over time, you get better at managing them. They never really completely go away. You just deal with them much better, right?
Yeah.
Like anything. Um, let's move on to the last few questions, right? What would life look like, do you think, if you stopped after the first 90 days, let's say?
Um, so I think that I would have lost weight because I lost a lot of weight at the start. I would have kind of done all my trainings, definitely. Um, life after 90 days for me would have been hitting into after Christmas time as such. So if I stopped after 90 days and I was hitting the Christmas bang, I would have, I would have let loose there and I might have been a
Yeah.
completely different person. I think when I went into January with you, Caleb, I maintained, I think after
Yeah, it
Christmas,
is.
I did. Um, so if I had stopped before Christmas, I would have been up,
Mm.
6 to 8 pounds more.
Yeah.
And then you're starting off wrong then,
Yes.
so when you told
Yeah.
me that I maintained in January and you were proud of that because everyone actually sometimes people can be nervous checking in with you, if they're up or something. You might
Yeah.
get up the whip or whatever, like, but you were proud that I maintained and I was disappointed. And I think I
Yeah.
was only disappointed because I wasn't constantly I was constantly getting your approval, I was constantly getting
Yeah.
your kind of ways, kind of successes and celebrating me
Yeah.
and stuff. So I had that fear, but as soon as you said like that's unbelievable maintaining, you gave me that lift again. So like the
Yeah.
90 days for me was the Christmas point, definitely. But, you carried me through Christmas, you did, and into the new year, and I felt a lot better than myself. As I said, I still would have lost the weight,
Mm.
and I would have learned techniques, but I think you'll always learn more and more and more because I needed a setback or I needed to
Yeah,
maintain to learn where to kind of come out of that. Like obviously sometimes when you're losing every week, yeah, it's brilliant, but what are you learning then to kind of
yeah,
to change that up, But I definitely think that I would have stopped after 90 days on the wrong side of Christmas. So
I get you.
yeah,
Absolutely. That's why the 6 months gives you that bit of time to solidify everything that we're trying to do here. And I
yeah,
really love what you mentioned there about like the times you had the setbacks. Like that's when you actually learn way more. When
yeah,
things are going great and you're winning and it's like, oh yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. But whenever you maybe plateau or maybe have a little regression, you learn so much more than from the wins, right? Because you're like,
yeah,
right, how do we rectify this so it doesn't happen again? You know?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely. And I think I had another setback then in February where I put up the weight, and again I had the fear
Mm,
of facing you.
mm.
Like you're like the teacher or something like that. But no, it's like, you make sure that we're kind of, that's okay. That's life. It is a lifestyle change. So it's not
Yeah,
like as I mentioned, this is not a 6 month thing. This is a lifestyle change. And I can't go around thinking that in 2 years' time I'm going to be, that I don't know what's going to face me. So I just,
yeah.
like that mindset has learned a lot. So if you go up or down, it's about coming back after it. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. It's always about the comeback, the rebound from the setbacks. That's what really sets you up for the long-term success. So, what advice would you give to someone else that was in the same place as you were before you started?
don't dwell on it like I did, or go to your family like I did. Just start the process. If it's not for you then, or if it's not working for you, that's fine too. You don't have to stick with something, but just start it out, because if you're here and you start, you're already going up.
Mm,
And that's what I think. I think I dwelled on that. I think I was following you for a while, and you'd always give me like these kind of things. I might reach out to you and you'd give me help and stuff, but then I'd run away from you for a while, like I apologized with then, and I was like, God, and then I was back to my brother. But like I was like, no, just look after yourself for once in your life, and just put you
yeah,
first and just start. And as I said, it may not go your way or it may not work for you, but it's a step in the right direction, definitely.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you don't try, the thing is, you'll never know, right? You'll always be
Mhm.
wondering, oh, what if I actually did that? And time isn't slowing down for anyone, right? Time is going by and it
Yeah.
never stops, right? Father time is never defeated. So the sooner you get going, the better it is for you as a person, right? But like, what advice then would you give to someone that would be on the fence, let's say, about joining something like this? What would they have to be nervous about or apprehensive about, would you think?
Checking in. No, I'm talking. God, when those Sunday nights come around, I'm like, Jesus. No, just to ask yourself, what have you got to lose? You're coming up and you're going to learn so much more. If you're on the fence about it, write out your pros and cons list.
Mm,
You're only going to have more pros. You've nothing to lose when you do this as such.
mm,
They could be on the fence with like training now and anxiety and all that, but these are all things that you learn through the
yeah,
program, and the weekly kind of open offices now. Like I learned so much from that. So like if you're on the fence, just if it's got to do with anything like busyness or financial or anything, just set aside time, and if it needs to be next year that you have to start, just kind of build that up this year.
yeah.
And it's just don't not look after yourself. If you're on the fence, it means you want to do it, but something's holding you back, and you need to just figure out what that
Absolutely.
is and get rid of
Yeah.
it.
That's a
Yeah,
great way of putting it. That's a great way of
yeah.
putting it. So,
Yeah.
what does the future look like for you, Audrey?
Well, about an hour's time anyway, I'm going to get the last bit of sun off in Mount Oval Bar. I'm only joking, Kato. So
You
the
should. Why
future,
not?
Um, so the future for me is I'm getting married this year. So like I'm really going to like I've learned a lot from you and I'm not afraid of losing anything or like the future for me is this was an actual lifestyle change and like if I hadn't taken this program I'd probably be doing my last minute like um cuts there in August to try get
Mm,
into a dress and that is just complete and utter bullshit, like it's we
yeah,
all do that last minute. I have a holiday coming up, I have to lose weight. I've done it all my life, but it's just not the right way to approach
mm,
things. So I hope that for my future, I'm just going to just remember, why I did this and what I did and like what it did for me, and what I felt like because it's all good and it was
yeah,
never like negative or never kind of waste or anything, So I'm going to
yeah.
constantly remind myself in the future, like why I did this, So should be
Amazing,
on.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and exciting times ahead, right? Exciting times ahead for you. So, is there anything you want to close by saying?
No, only that like you've you've changed me kind of in a way that I couldn't have done on my own. I think you need that kind of guidance and support and the accountability, yes, but like you teaches us all the right relevant principles that you sometimes wouldn't have to keep us accountable, because
Mm,
we're just doing it and stuff. Um but the last 6 months has I know it sounds cliche, but it's changed my life as such, and like it's made me like a better person all around, and it's something that I'm just very appreciative of. And even things like when you said you want to hop on tonight, you'd always think like, oh, I'm not good enough, get someone else. But like,
yeah.
you've always been there, and you always put each and every one of us like ahead of, you're always looking out for
Mm.
us and stuff. And so it's just, I really appreciate it, and it was really fun.
Good stuff, Audrey. Appreciate the kind words very much. Thank you so much for that. It's great to hear, look, how much of a positive impact the program has had on you. And I really appreciate you sharing all those key principles as well. I'm sure they'll be helpful for anyone that's watching or listening back to this. And, I always do these hot seats with people that, like yourself, are living different lives to other people. Everyone has, similarities in some ways, but everyone has their own differences also. But you'll always learn something from someone else that comes onto these hot seats. It might be just one little thing that you hear, but it can
Yeah.
completely change the way that you approach things. So I'm sure someone will find a bit of inspiration from this within the program. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything tonight, Audrey. Thank you so much for that. Okay.
No problem. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you.
No worries, no worries. So that basically wraps us up tonight. Stephanie here is after commenting. Thanks for sharing your journey, Audrey. Well done to you on your fitness and health journey. Well done, Audrey. Great listen. So yeah, it was really good listen, Audrey. Really interesting story. Thank you again, as I said, for coming on. I know you'll be checking tomorrow, so I'll be chatting to you then anyway in a bit more detail. So let's get that done, right? So
Yeah.
we'll
No
uh, we'll
problem.
chat we'll chat to you then anyway in a bit more detail about everything going forward. Okay?
Thank you, Caleb. Thanks,
No
everyone.
worries. Enjoy the rest
Bye.
of your evening back home, and I'll chat to you
Bye.
soon. Okay?